Today I want to talk to you about communicating spirituality. Check out my previous vid about my definition of spirituality and why it's important. I'll just give a brief summary of that for those who don't want to be bothered to check it out, or those who may have watched the video a little while ago. Spirituality I have defined as how the core of your being relates to the totality of existence. The core of your being what quality it is of you that if you no longer had that quality or qualities, you would cease to be you. Okay, so you could consider that to be your soul or spirit, or even a humanistic view of maybe personality or something like that. So everybody has this core, and then we all acknowledge that there's a relationship between that core and the totality of existence. That's what I said is spirituality. That's how I define it. And further, I've stated that it's important because if you can change the core or the perception of the core, either way, that then you can make all kinds of changes and find happiness and fulfillment. When you change the core, you change the relationship to everything else. And it's beneficial to the human being to do that. So that's what I mean by spirituality, and that's why it's important. And today I wanted to talk about ways that we communicate spirituality, and some techniques you might want to use when you're trying to communicate spirituality from one end or the other. I want to first go over what I mean by communication. Okay, and just so we can get a few ideas out there. Communication is a speaker using language to get an idea to a listener. Now, a speaker, I'm using that in the most general sense of the term. You could be speaking with your voice. You could speak through writing. You could speak through visual images or music or whatever. Okay, that's the way that I'm using the term speaker. And language is always symbolic. It means what it means because we say that's what it means. There's a common understanding that this symbol corresponds with this particular idea. So, words only mean what they mean because we say that that's what they mean. Just like how I just defined spirituality. You may have thought when I was using the term before that I was using it in a different way. Now, hopefully, I've communicated clearly, and you know what that symbol, the word spirituality, means when I'm using it. And then, of course, the listener, the person that is hearing the words or seeing the images, whatever. Now, communication requires a good faith effort on the part of the speaker and the listener. Both need to make the effort to understand and be understood. Otherwise, you do not have communication. If you're not trying to be honest and truthful and make a good faith effort, then you're engaging in something other than communication, perhaps manipulation, who knows. But that's the situation with communication. We're talking about a speaker trying to get an idea using symbols, language, to a listener. And of course, there's a number of problems that can arise. You've got to have a common language. You need to understand what that language means. And even if you have a language that you think is common, sometimes people use terms differently, and you need to clarify that. And one of the things that we encounter in spiritual learning is we're reading texts that are from a different culture, often in a different language, so we're reading translations. And you've got to understand that the language was probably understood in context at the time, and as part of that good faith effort, if you're going to be reading that, you need to make the effort to understand what the speaker is actually saying, what he meant, what he thought. Because he's trying to communicate that thought, that idea to you. If you want to be a fair listener, then you're going to need to make that extra effort. And especially if you're reading ancient text, the person who wrote it is dead. The society in which it existed is dead. You need to go and make the extra effort to understand the context of the society and what was actually meant by those words. We all know that people speak in metaphor. All language is metaphor on some level. And you have to understand the metaphors. You have to understand what they mean when they said whatever it was that they said. Very often it can be misunderstood. Even within the English language, I'm communicating now, people understand things differently. Different words mean different things in the United States, in Great Britain. There's slang, and you might not understand it. You may think you understand the word, but you don't. It might even be a generational thing. When I was growing up, if you bombed a test, that meant you did very poorly on the test. In my dad's generation, and he's about 30 years older than I am, when you bombed a test, you destroyed the test. You did very well in the test. So even in 30 years difference, we grew up in the same city and suburbs of the city, and the word meant the exact opposite. So if somebody was reading that text 1,000 years from now, who would know? If we wrote that down, I would write it down, and my father would write it down, and it would mean the complete opposite thing. So you really need to understand the context.